So I really sort of failed this year with the holiday appropriate videos. I wanted to do some holiday makeup looks and a gift guide, and just none of it happened. And I knew I needed to pre-film a video because I will be in San Antonio, Texas, visiting my family over Christmas. Christmas falls on a Sunday, and I was like, what can I do? I just had like no good ideas in terms of like the time that I had to pre-film a video. Anyway, there's no reason you need this much extraneous information about this video. But I decided to make my Christmas Day video the third segment of a Q&A. I had solicited questions many months ago. I did 2 previous Q&A videos answering them, and I went back and realized that there were some straggling questions that I hadn't answered. So I was like, I'll just do a Q&A for my Christmas Day video. I wish it were something more creative and better, but the first 2 went over pretty well. If you would like to see the first 2 Q&A videos where I answered lots of sort of basic, more demographic questions like where I'm from, what my educational background is, that sort of thing, I think I tackled all of that in those previous 2 videos. So the questions for this Q&A are a little bit deeper and required a little bit more thought. So I did put some pre-formed thought into answering these questions. Some of them are a little more sort of straightforward, but let's just get into it. So the first question is, I would love to hear about your all-time favorite products in terms of efficacy and beauty. In other words, if you had to start your collection from scratch, what are the items you need to include? I think this is such a good question to make into an entire video. So I think I'm going to do that. It's sort of related to another question I've gotten and a running list I have for kind of like a best investments video. So like if you're new to eco beauty, what would be sort of the priority that I would advise people to give to different categories of products and brands and particular products within those strata, if that makes sense. Just to give you a few items that I made notes of, if I had to start my collection from scratch, it would be Suntegrity as my sunscreen and tinted moisturizer. Something from RMS, just because I use them daily, either the Unpowder or the Uncover Up or one of the lip to cheeks. I don't think at this point I could live without my Surratt Autographique eyeliner. Prior to using that, it was the Zuzu Luxe. Glossier Boy Brow, Too Faced Better Than Sex is my favorite mascara. And then some kind of lip color would either probably be from Bite Beauty or Kosas. Next question. One question, as it's a brand I've never seen you mention on your channel. What are your thoughts, if you have any, on Lush? So I've answered similar questions. Sometimes people are curious about my take on an entire brand, like Living Libations and 100% Pure, which I have talked about in one of the other Q&As. Regarding Lush, it's never been a brand I've felt particularly attracted to. I did go through, I guess, when I first started watching YouTube videos maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was sort of intrigued. I bought one of like the lip scrubs, I remember, but first of all, I would always get a headache when I went in there. At the time, I wasn't as into luxury beauty and I thought it was really overpriced. So I didn't like the scents. It seems a little gimmicky, and it just wasn't a gimmick that resonated with me even at that time. Yeah, I don't know, something about the packaging never really resonated with me. The price for the packaging. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Lush. Next question. I love the idea of apps like Skin Deep and Think Dirty helping me make a decision about what is safer to buy. Although mostly I try what YouTubers like yourself recommend. That's so nice that you trust my recommendations. But recently I have stopped using these apps as much because I am just not certain what to trust. So thoughts on these apps, thoughts on if these apps are any good, and if so, which do you recommend? It's a good question. I've never gotten into using apps for shopping for some reason. I do have like several on my phone, like I have the Vitacost app, I might have the Sephora, but I never use them. I don't know, maybe I had the Skin Deep app at one point. I don't anymore. And then there was an app, it might be the Think Dirty, where you can scan it. It'll bring up the product and the ingredients and the rating. Truth be told, I don't even really use the Skin Deep database anymore. I think because I've been into eco beauty for so long at this point that my approach is to trust the curation of boutiques that I trust. So for example, like I divest the ingredient responsibility onto people like Jeannie at Beauty Heroes. Now, this is sort of, I don't necessarily advise that. It's kind of complicated. So I used to be much more of like an ingredient sleuth. when I first got into green beauty, I was very into researching the ingredients and doing a full report on EWG. And I went through a couple years of being quite a bit more purist about beauty products than I am now. That said, I would say the main area of my life that is the least perfectionist is makeup. The rest, if you were to see like the majority of my hair care, skincare, dental care, food, supplements, everything is like 95% kind of like eco, clean, organic, whatever label you want to affix to it. Makeup is the one area that I tend to make a few more exceptions with things like eyeliner and lipstick, just because it's like my fun little playtime area, I guess. That sounds kind of weird, but that's how I think about it. There has been such a proliferation of places to buy eco beauty products. Beauty Heroes, Beauty Habit has an entire beautifully curated eco-organic section. Detox Market, Credo, Folane, all of these places. And so for me, they've kind of taken the guesswork out of the safety of the products, if that makes sense. So this is a very long-winded way of saying that I don't use the apps and I'm just not that well versed on them. You know, it's also because when I was a little bit more like that, you know, to see alcohol, for example, is very high up on an ingredient list. That freaks a lot of people out. I remember there was this whole discussion when Infiore was featured in the Beauty Heroes box last year. A bunch of people were writing in about alcohol. I did a back and forth. I was like the sort of the liaison between Julie Elliott, who's the founder of Infiore, and Jeannie from Beauty Heroes, and people on my channel asking about alcohol. And Julie from Infiore has very detailed, rational, sound explanations for her formulations. And so I implicitly trust her. I don't know if I'm making sense, but basically I find people that I trust and that's kind of like my default, but I do need to be still reading ingredient lists. Wow, I just spent forever on that question. I really enjoyed seeing your recent jewelry collection. I would love to see what handbags you use. I think I included this here because I was just gonna show you what handbags I use because it's very, very limited. So let me grab them and I'll show them to you. So I am most definitely a handbag minimalist. Shoes and bags are, I feel like, the big sort of like constant splurge for women. It's less bags for me. It's more lipsticks and sometimes shoes. I buy shoes more than handbags, but anyway. I am in need of a couple new bags. As you all see, my stuff is very well worn. So my everyday bag that I take to work is one of the Filson zip top totes. I've got this in graduate school. I've had it for probably 4 or 5 years at this point, and I've been really quite happy with it. I was thinking about maybe getting this same bag or more like a satchel style. They do like a really nice kind of army olive green color, so I might do that. Or Kuyana does a very beautiful, reasonably priced zip top leather tote. So I just need like a big bag to take to work every day. I take meals to work with me. I often take a pair of shoes. So yeah, this is my everyday bag. And then if I'm going out, I alternate between 3. I'm a little embarrassed to show you this one because it's so old. It's just a very simple light pink crossbody that, as you can see, it's like I need to get rid of it because it's totally beat up and ratty. I got this at H&M 3 years ago maybe, and I've worn it so much. It goes with everything. It's obviously not real leather. It was like $30. But I think to replace this, I'm going to invest in a Claire V style bag like this, but I want something very neutral that will go with everything. I'm a big crossbody person. This is also a nice opportunity for me to tell you what I do not like in handbags. I hate structured bags, totally. Like I want things that are like floppy and loose and worn and like relaxed looking. Like the structure, like Celine bags, I don't like the way that they look. Let me show you the other 2 bags that I use. The one that I use the next most is this little black crossbody from Free People. I really like it. I feel like the chain also is sort of like a nice accent detail to an outfit, so I've been very, very happy with this. It's teeny, it doesn't hold very much, but I really like it. And then I got this one sort of recently. I was hoping that it would fully replace my light pink H&M one. This is from Forever 21. I kind of regret buying it, to be honest. I don't really shop with them anymore. but it's okay. It's just like a brown suede with some fringe detail crossbody. I haven't gotten a ton of use out of it. I don't really know why. I don't love it, but it's okay, I guess. So that's like literally it for my handbags. I do have a couple of like evening clutches, but I never really use them. Oh, I actually do. Oh, I forgot to show you one. I actually totally forgot I even had this. I don't use it that much. It's by the brand Geometry, and it's this floppy clutch. So the reason I don't use it is because I don't really use clutch bags all that much, but this one I like. I really should use it more. It's a little big for me, to be honest. I wish it were smaller, but it is sort of very pretty and classic, and I like it. This was somehow connected to Alexandra, I believe, who used to write No More Dirty Looks, or is one of the co-authors of the book No More Dirty Looks, used to write on the No More Dirty Looks blog. But yeah, this was a gift, so I haven't gotten as much use out of that as I would have liked. So my next imminent handbag investments are going to be a Claire V crossbody and a Kuyana leather tote, zip top tote. I have two kind of like very high-end, expensive handbag dreams. The first would be one of those, like the largest size that they make of the Bottega Veneta black woven leather hobo, like the big one. I've loved that bag for a long, long time. And then a black Chanel wallet on a chain, which will never happen, but I love the simplicity and classicness of that bag. So I shouldn't say never, maybe someday. I have one question. What is your favorite beauty brand and why? I feel like maybe I've answered this before, but in case I haven't, it really hasn't changed much in the last year and a half, probably. My top 3 skincare brands, I always bounce around between Infiore, Mahalo, and Uma as being my top 3. There's other brands that will have like a single product that jump out at me, but as a complete brand, those 3 just kind of, nothing has replaced them or become at that level. As Alina Hansen, maybe. They would be, I guess, kind of like the runner-up. They've really won my heart this year. For makeup, honestly, it would probably be RMS, and I know that that's really kind of like old school sounding, and they've also gone so mainstream. When I think about an eco makeup brand that I have the most of, that I've had the best experience with, I guess it would be RMS. Well People too, but there's something more special to me about RMS, the aesthetic and the little pots and everything. And I do think the performance of RMS for some of the products slightly supersedes Well People. Okay, here's a series of questions from one person. What is your full educational background? Undergrad, postgrad, certification? I have tackled it in previous videos, but if anyone is new and just watching this, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and Latin American studies from the University of Chicago. And then I have a master's and PhD in sociology from Brown University, where I subspecialized in urban sociology and environmental sociology, and also the sociology of health and critical theory, like contemporary social theory. But the question of certification is an interesting one, because my next frontier that someday I really would like to tackle is to become professionally certified in aesthetics. Like, I totally want to go to beauty school. It's like the dream that won't die. Yeah, so I don't know if that will ever happen. I would like to actually have like some skincare credentials. Right now I'm just an enthusiast with a lot of product experience knowledge. But yeah, I would like to kind of formally study skincare. The next question, what led you to see a medical intuitive? I had my first session with the medical intuitive that I have worked with almost a year ago, so it was the end of January of 2016. And earlier that fall, so fall of 2015, I had read a book by Carolyn Meese called Anatomy of the Spirit, which is about medical intuition. So it was sort of on my radar because to me it seemed like I have been into alternative health and healing for so long, like over a decade in some capacity. So to me, the next frontier was like energy and kind of quantum level healing work. And then I was talking to someone that watches my videos in the comments, and she mentioned a medical intuitive. And I was like, who do you work with? She shared, I saw his website, I felt pulled towards it, and it has been one of the most profound things that I ever did for my health. In addition to starting acupuncture in 2009, those are sort of the two most profound healing moments in my like journey or whatever that I can say now. I wasn't in ill health at all. It was really just, I wanted some advice on direction for supplements. I wanted to know if the things I was taking were okay, and working with this medical intuitive, I'll leave his website down below if you're curious, just really totally was like such a game changer in terms of getting me on an individualized protocol and letting all of the noise drop away. And that is totally a topic for another video, because my perspective on so much of the alternative health community, which dovetails a lot into the eco beauty market and the luxury supplement industry and all of that, I have pretty like unconventional views as far as this sphere goes, because I basically think most of it is not necessary and a lot of, you know, beautiful marketing, and I do not believe that it's really helping people solve the root issues of their imbalances. I do think it's getting to be time when I could do a full medical intuitive follow-up video. I had tried to do one over the summer and it was too premature. I was still like going through some shiz, and I'm starting to feel, or I've been feeling for the last couple months, on a different level with respect to how I view the process and the results that I've seen. So more to come. I think maybe in early 2017 I might do a medical intuitive update video, but we'll see. What other medical practitioners do you see? I do have a PCP just in case I have an acute accident or I get sick and, you know, need antibiotics or something. So I go once a year for a physical and that's it. The next question was, do you see an MD, DO, ND, or medical intuitive for yearly physicals? So my PCP is just an MD, but I did have my medical intuitive scan a list of potential PCPs, and so his method of resourcing information can discern which practitioner is like a good fit for any medical treatment that you want. And so we identified a PCP who would be, for what I wanted her for, was the best fit, if that makes sense. But I saw her once last year and I haven't been to the doctor since. Next question, still from the same person. What sunscreen, tinted and non, would you recommend it for someone with dehydrated but oily, congestion prone skin? Which is totally the opposite of my own skin type. So just venturing to guess, I would say the Josh Rosebrook Nutrient Day Cream would be a good one to try. And then for normal and dry skin types, I always recommend the Suntegrity. What are the top 5 or 10, if you're feeling generous or that 5 is too few, holistic lifestyle habits you have implemented and find most beneficial? It's a hard question to answer because pretty much all of my holistic, healthy lifestyle habits are couched within the framework of the stuff I've done with my medical intuitive. I guess I would say the number 1 and number 2 things are being on an individualized supplement routine and an individualized dietary protocol. The biggest one for me is avoiding gluten most of the time. So those 2 are probably the most important. Avoiding fluoride in drinking water is a huge one. So I get spring water from Whole Foods and that's what I use to cook and drink with. Getting monthly acupuncture and massage has been huge for me. I went through many years where I got acupuncture weekly because my insurance covered it. Now I just pay out of pocket for monthly acupuncture and massage. What is that for? And then I have an at-home yoga practice that I am very, very connected to. I've been practicing yoga mostly not at home, mostly in studios since like 2004. And within the last year, I pretty much stopped going to studios and I just have my own practice at home. I'll follow a lot of Yoga with Adriene videos, but I pretty much do yoga postures daily. That's very important for me for both physical unwinding as well as energetic rebalancing. Another thing that was just huge for me was stopping hormonal birth control and detoxing off of that and rebalancing my system, which was my health journey before I even started my channel. That all took place in like 2009, 2010. I've always been meaning to do a full dedicated video on it because it was such an important part of me, I guess, kind of like getting my optimal health back. I really, really believe that most women should not be taking hormonal birth control. It's just become such a normalized thing, but it's such a complicated issue because it's tied up with these issues of, you know, like gender politics and sexual liberation and being in control of your fertility. And there's this whole sort of like political, social side to hormonal birth control that's a separate issue. But if we're just looking at it from a health perspective, I do not think that taking synthetic hormones is good for like anybody really, but just my opinion. I'm not a doctor, and I know that contradicts a lot of sort of conventional Western thinking, but for me, getting off hormonal birth control, re-regulating my cycles, and greening my period too, so stopping using tampons, even organic tampons. I use the Diva cup, and I'm just so happy with my cycle. I feel very, very connected to my cycle. I really, like, I know this sounds so strange, but I love having my period. I love everything about my cycle, and it's been this total evolution and process of getting to know my body in that way, and it's been over like 6 years at this point, and I'm just really, like, it makes me kind of emotional to think about, because I think it's something that has just become so lost in our culture, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to reconnect with it, if that makes sense. It sounds so cheesy and sappy, but yeah. And then I think that that's it for the holistic lifestyle habits. I could probably keep going, but I'll cut myself off there. If you had to recommend only one deep house mix to convince someone to explore the genre, what would it be? Big electronic music fan, not to be confused with EDM. Yes, EDM and deep house are not the same thing at all. I made 2 notes. I would say one of the mixes that really is special to me is the Time Rider Extreme Couching. I think it's volume 6 mix. I would recommend that one. Or a kind of different style of deep house would be Frank and Tony's Boiler Room, which I've mentioned before on my channel, so I'll link both of those below. I'm also endeavoring to do, I don't know what to call it other than like a music narrative video, a video where I just kind of like sit and talk about my relationship with music and how it has evolved to what it is today. Let me know if you would be interested in that, because it's something I really want to do, and then I want to follow up that video with a like DJing 101 video, like set up my deck and like do some demos. I think it'd be really fun. Essential nonfiction books on green living or alternative healing and medicine. The 2 that jump to mind are The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer and Anatomy of the Spirit, which I've already mentioned, which is on medical intuition. Untethered Soul is about spirit, new age spirituality, expanded consciousness, and yeah, I'm just like looking at my bookcase over there. I did a bookshelf tour like a year and a half ago. Maybe I should do an updated one. Taking charge of your fertility, if we're like gonna stay on the topic of fertility, that was totally an essential book for me. Okay, that's it for that person's questions. Oh my god, this video is gonna be too long, I think. I'm gonna try and go quick. There's 3 more questions. Everyone strives for individuality but can't help but feel inspired by others. Who are your inspirations both in fashion and beauty and in life? In terms of beauty, obviously Lisa Eldridge. I feel like she's everybody's beauty inspiration. Carolyn Hirons is another big one for me because she's so authentic and real, and she, to me, has such a nice diversified background and life that she's created herself in terms of having her own aesthetics practice, working with brands. She spent so much time in retail. She has a very thriving blog and YouTube channel, so that's kind of like, I don't know, I really idolize her a lot, and I would love to even achieve a modicum of what she has because I think she's incredible. Another person I really, really look up to and admire is Jeannie from Beauty Heroes, which you probably would already know if you watch my videos. I've met her in person, and she's such an inspiration just in terms of her career, what she's created with Beauty Heroes, and above all, like how she interacts with people and her dedication to personal connections and customer service with her brand is so admirable. I've literally never encountered anybody like her. And then I listed a couple of music people who really, really inspire me. Tracy Thorn from Everything But the Girl. She's so amazing to me because she's had such a long career. She's married to Ben Watt, who was the other half of Everything But the Girl, and he's also a DJ that I've followed for a long, long time, and I totally look up to her and them as a couple in terms of their creativity, what they've created together. I've read one of her books, Bedsit Disco Queen, and I just absolutely loved it. Marie Dahlstrom is someone who I feel very inspired by. She's a Scandinavian neo-soul singer who I've followed religiously for the last couple of years, and I love her. Sade, I feel very inspired by. Jessie Ware, DJ Shadow, and that's all I had on my list. Next question. What is your current favorite workout? I'm desperately looking for some fitness inspiration. So I do kind of like a bodybuilding style workout with the constraints of having a full-time job and trying to keep L'amour et la musique going. I really only get to the gym max twice a week. Most of the time, to be honest, it's once a week, but I endeavor to go twice a week and do one leg day and one upper body abs full body day, and then I walk a ton and I have an at-home yoga practice. So that's kind of my fitness routine in a nutshell. Ideally, I would like to be going to the gym and having good lifting sessions like 3 times a week. I just don't have the time right now. Yeah, so I do a bodybuilding style, which basically means high reps, lower weight, versus a powerlifting style, which would be higher weight, lower reps. So I just prefer bodybuilding style. I don't know, I like it better. I have been watching Nikki Blackketter forever, and she's a big fitness inspiration for me. Jasmine Garcia, I'll watch sometimes. She also kind of has like good workout footage. And then more recently, I've been super into Whitney Simmons. Her workouts are the best that I've ever found on YouTube, and I've been doing them and incorporating a lot of her moves. I realize I'm gesticulating a lot during this video, but yeah, Whitney Simmons. So I highly recommend those 3 to get ideas and inspiration if you're into lifting. Otherwise, like, I'm not into boutique fitness at all. I'll go to, you know, a spin class or a Pilates reformer or something like for fun, but it would never be something that I would do regularly. Okay, last question. This I can't even. I start to get anxiety when I've been recording for too long. This comes from one of my viewers who I have cultivated a very warm, lovely connection with, Yolanda. You'll probably recognize her from the comments, but she just brings the most beautiful energy in the comments that she leaves on my videos, and she like has made me tear up before with some of the things that she said. She has just really keen observations and energetic insights, and I really appreciate her presence on my channel. So she asked the following questions. What little things, as in gestures, actions, words, not material things, bring you a deep sense of happiness? The best thing that I could think for this, something that brings me a deep sense of happiness, is being in a city or an urban environment. I've always been like that. I grew up in a very rural environment, but I always felt attracted to the city. My family would take vacations to New York City over the holidays. You know, my parents were great at exposing us to sort of diversity and culture and art, and I was like the epitome of like the small town girl with like her eyes set on like the big city lights. I used to like envision myself as an adult like working in like an office and taking the subway and like having my high heels click down the hall. It was just like always what I aspired to, which is funny because it's like kind of like my life now. And so then I went on in graduate school to, as I mentioned, study cities and kind of urban theory and kind of like the sociology of place and space. And I've just always been fascinated by what cities create in terms of the communities that people exist in. So sort of like Jane Jacobs for any of you urban planners out there, or urban sociologists or urban studies people. Cities that are like vibrant places of social connection and creativity. I also made a note that I wanted to say, if anyone watching this video knows of or has read Claude Fisher's Subcultural Theory of Urbanism, we might be soulmates. It's sort of like surmises why I think cities are so magical, that it's a melting pot of enough people to create subcultures where people can thrive. That's the theory, basically. But I'm like starting to get a little too academic. But to bring it back to the question, literally walking down a vibrant city street brings me so much happiness, and seeing different kinds of people, you know, interacting and doing life. That's like the inner sociologist in me, just like seeing people doing life in different ways, I think is so fascinating and just makes my heart happy. Next question from Yolanda. What do you admire in others? This was very easy for me. Authenticity, integrity, vulnerability, presence, and awareness. Second to last question, your ideal man would blank. I thought about this. There's so many ways I could answer it, but what I've been attracted to in relationships and partners in the opposite sex has changed so much over the years. My ideal man would have depth of character, emotional awareness, be some combination of academic and creative. That's really important to me. Someone who has some tempered cynicism and snark, because I don't like people that take themselves too seriously, or I don't know, I have a snarky sense of humor, and I would like to connect with someone on that level. And then the last question from Yolanda is, what do you love most doing for others? I thought about this in terms of the love languages. My love language of giving is probably acts of service. When I think about what brings me the most joy to do for other people is to like do something really like thoughtful for them that they would hopefully appreciate, like bake their favorite dessert. So yeah, I think that answered that question. I hope you enjoyed hearing the answers to all of these questions. I was so blabby and wordy, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. It'll probably be a while before I do another Q&A. Maybe I'll put out a call for new questions, I don't know, in 6 months or something probably. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that all of you are having a lovely holiday break, even if you don't celebrate Christmas. I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Bye.